This is the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, and today we're going to smash through average with Michael Bernoff. Welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, where I, Selena Knight, share strategies, interview retail revolutionaries, and delve into the minds of e-commerce experts to help you grow a profitable, independent retail or e-commerce business. If you're stuck in a rut, or if you feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've overachieved all of the things that you've set out to and are wondering what to do next, or how do I even make this better? I know that you're going to love today's episode. If you're stuck in a rut, feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've achieved all of the things that you set out to and are wondering what next, or how do I even make this better? Then I know that you're going to love today's episode. Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I got satisfactory for a subject in school, I always took that as a bit of a personal affront. I mean, I was never the smartest kid for sure, but I still thought that I was above average, even in those subjects that I was terrible at. Surely the effort that I was putting in was above average. Now, fast forward to being a grown-up, and whilst a lot of people are totally okay with average, I know that I certainly am not. And until I had this conversation with Michael Bernoff, president and founder of the Human Communications Institute and a leader in the personal and professional development industry, I hadn't really paid attention to the signs that I was slowly creeping back into average land. What I really liked about chatting with Michael was that his enthusiasm is infectious. Even though he was pointing out some really hard-hitting truths, he made me want to get back out there and take my game to a whole new level. And best of all, Michael embraces my philosophy that getting to the next level isn't about hustling harder or working more. In today's episode, Michael walks us through how to identify your personal average, how to accept it, and how to work to get out of your box. So let's jump into today's episode with the author of the book, Average Sucks, Michael Bernoff. If you are anything like the business owners that I work with and talk to, the concept of being average is the equivalent of being told that you suck. And in my experience, great business owners are overachievers. They have a vision and they are prepared to put the hard yards in to get there. Average just isn't good enough. So if you've been doing this for a while now and you're doing okay, you are super proud of what you've built, and you totally should be, maybe your average is way higher than other store owners. But if you've been feeling that either you've hit the wall or a ceiling, or you just feel like there should be more than this, then Michael Bernoff says, you, my friend, have just hit average. Hey there, Michael. Is average really that bad?
I mean, it's not the end of the world. And I appreciate you having me on because this is exciting. The way you put it, it's like, oh, it's this devil thing, the average. It's only a challenge if you desire more in this world. It's actually a beautiful thing. I mean, your average keeps life easy. It makes things automatic. It's simple. It's a dream for most people. But the problem is it's probably a dream that was a great idea 10, 12 years ago that doesn't fit your current reality. And that's where it becomes a problem.
Do you find, I know that just before we jumped on, we talked about visionaries, which is from the book Rocket Fuel, which I absolutely love.
I made it over the pond. Okay, good. I figured so.
Yes, love the book. We actually use it a lot in our business. Nice. I clearly am the visionary, not necessarily
I am not the integrator.
Yeah. Integrator. But do you find that the people that you tend to work with, the people who gravitate towards you, are overachievers?
Well, yeah, the majority of the people I work with, I mean, we attract a very interesting type of person. I mean, you have a book called Average Sucks, and you're aggressive with people and you push and grow. Not aggressive in a bad way, but just, I don't settle in life. We attract a very specific type of person, the entrepreneur, like in your world, store owners, brick and mortar business owners, people that demand more out of life. Like even during this whole, the COVID situation, one of the things that I recognized, our clients were like, got it. Okay, well, this sucks. What do we do? Does that make sense? It wasn't this sucks. I don't know what to do. It's like time to get to work. So the majority of the people we work with are people that demand the most out of their lives, and they're typically human beings that fit the entrepreneurial investor mode.
It's hilarious. I started my first retail business at the beginning of the GFC back in 2007. I just started another e-commerce business a couple of weeks ago.
middle of COVID. There's nothing like a
But
global economic
that's
downturn.
that's how we thrive. Like if I were to grab the majority of the people listening to this, like your clients, people you worked with, I would literally ask, so how you doing? A lot of them are going to say, you know what? I've been needing this because reason we started our businesses, this is the part that I recognized. And I've only spoken maybe on 5,000 stages or so in my life in my 42 years of doing this, 42 years of being alive. One of the things I recognized is that most business owners started what they do out of a problem. Nobody was like, oh my God, my job at Macy's is so wonderful. And I'm a buyer in retail and everything's going so great. I just got a 20% raise and stock options galore. I'm going to go start a company. Nobody says that. It's typically you're not getting your needs met. And then you're like, this sucks. What do I do? Let me go torture myself and start a company. And it's only crazy, insane human beings like us and anyone listening to this that would even consider such a thing or even read our book or listen to your podcast.
It's funny you should say that because I got a message. It was my mother. I call this my Mother's Day present. I got a message from a previous client who still keeps in contact, and she has a store in a town of just 7,000 people. And she absolutely just embraced all of this. And she went to her store and started selling TVSN on Facebook Lives and did 100 orders in a week.
Wow.
Like, for a lot of people, 100 orders isn't a lot, but that's, it's 100 orders she didn't have.
We're in make money mode. I walked into a business recently and you're going to get a kick out of this. So I know we focus mainly on retail, but I walk into a restaurant, which in a form is retail. We're selling food at a marked up price. Yes. So I walk into this restaurant, there's like the fancy restaurants you go to that are like, you're like nice night out, your anniversary stuff. Then there's your mid-range comfortable. This is my mid-range comfortable. And I walked in and I said, how are things going? And she goes, we're only down 45%. And I stopped and go, how is that good? And she goes, well, it's not that bad compared to blank. I said, no, we don't compare. Okay, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to tip you and I'm going to figure this out. I said, are you calling anybody? She goes, what do you mean? I said, you've been in business 30 years. You have a POS, point of sale system. Well, you know that because that's the industry you're in. Are you calling anybody? She goes, how do we do that? I'm like, this is a phone. Like you pick it up and you call. She goes, well, we can't do that. What do we say? I'm like, do you want a pizza? Do you want soup? I'll deliver it. And I said to her, I said, well, how do we start if we don't have the numbers? They go, here's a pen and paper, write mine down. Call me next week. Ask me if I want a pizza. And if I do, she goes, who can I get the call? I said, you let all your waiters go. They're salespeople. Bring them all back. Get them on the phone dialing. And I said, give them 20% commission. It's free money. You were never going to get. And I go, how many, I go like this to the lady, I go, how many tables do you have in here? She goes, 120. How many turns do you do a night? 3. 360 people they can get in the restaurant. How many people live in Phoenix? 8 million. Now, your market is 8 million. You should be thanking Corona for what's going on. Not being happy about it, but just thanking them for getting you to think bigger in your model. So I just think we need to communicate differently with ourselves.
I think that is awesome. I have a very, very similar story just quickly, which was I saw on Facebook, a friend of mine tagged a restaurant I'd never been to before. It's about 10 minutes away that they were doing this beautiful souvlaki plate for families. And I was like, wow. I would really love that. And it was $50. And there was enough food for, there's 3 of us to feed us twice. Anyway, I went and picked it up and I said to him, do you want my email address? And he said, what do I need your email address for? I said, so that you can email me the menu next week. And he said to me, but you messaged me on Facebook to order. And I said, yeah, I did, but you don't have a Facebook Messenger bot. So how are you going to tell me what's on the menu next week? And he goes, well, you follow me on Facebook. Still, even after I left, he replied back to me in Messenger and he said, I wrote back and said, thanks so much for the food. It was lovely. And he said, thanks, but I still won't be collecting emails or something along those lines. I was like, dude, same thing as you. He's like, dude, this is money on the table.
What are they doing? Like, imagine like your favorite breakfast place. Imagine they call tonight. I know the time zone's different, but imagine they call in a few hours and go, hey, tomorrow, Selena, we're going to be, I know what you like. I have it in the system. Tomorrow I'm delivering for free, whatever you'd like to your house, 10% off. You might say yes, you might say no, but odds are you're sick of cooking. You're sick of the dishes, and I'll bring plates and paper towels. Would you like some extras? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You got my business for life. I just think as business owners, average businesses will die in the next couple of years, and above average businesses are going to take over the world.
Okay. So with that in mind, how do we identify what is average?
Well, that's an interesting thing. So I got a license plate that says average sucks. I got these shirts, average sucks. If the pond lets me get one over to you, I don't get stopped by the kangaroos in the border, I'll mail over to you some shirts and stuff. I'll get you all hooked up. But I wear them and people stop me. People like you, entrepreneurs, people that consultants, coaching companies, CEOs, Elon Musks of the world. Hey, dude, I love that shirt. And I'm like, do you know what that means? And they're like, oh yeah, you got to be better than anyone else. And I'm like, true, but that's not what it means. What it really means is you have an average, and your average will hold you back. And that is the biggest breakthrough that human beings need to accept is whatever you do automatically. I truly believe that we have an amount of money we make each year. We have the amount of times we're intimate a year. We have the amount of times that we listen to a song each year. We have an amount of times we play a sport or work out. Every one of us, if we're willing to accept it, like a bank has an average daily average of what it is that we do in a day, week, month, and year. And here's the crazy part. Everyone listening right now, if you took a break, like I'm saying this mid-year, if you took a break for 4 more months, sat on your butt, did nothing. This is international. Everyone's hearing this from all over the world,
Yep.
Which is great. You just sit on your butt, do nothing till let's just say November 1st. What's crazy is from November 1st to December 31st, something will trigger. You will get back. You will make all the money you needed to in 2 months. You will get your body where it needed to be in 2 months. You will heal the relationships in 2 months. You will do everything that needs to get done because your body has in your mind has an absolute ability to sustain your exact average of what you do. This is why someone in a good economy and a bad economy make about the same amount of money. And the reason why is we have an average that controls our lives. That's step one to understanding this. And once you get that, big piece of my book that I discover that is the biggest thing holding people back.
And I'm guessing that that average is different for everyone, right? Like your average could be completely different to my average.
100%. Whatever you do, but everyone's got an average. And the question is, and we were messing with the subtitles for this, and this is like not only about the book, just about life. I'm like, let me make it complicated. Let me make it the psychological guide to unleashing. And I'm like, no, keep it simple. Why you don't have what you want and what to do about it. So here's the deal. If what you want and what you do are not the same, we got a problem. And that's what most people miss. If the workouts you do regularly and the results you get are not equal, we have an issue. Everybody has what they do automatically, and then they have what they want. So until we can get those two working together, we got a problem. And it's all solvable. It's just literally that's the biggest part most people don't miss. And most people, and I'm talking to you people listening, is you want to do it through hard work. And that was what my parents sold me. Hard work and being nice will get you an 18th place ribbon. Getting intelligent will change everything.
Just before we jumped on, you and I had a conversation and I said something very, very similar, which is I find when people hit that point,
Yep.
and quite often it's when they hit sort of the 7-figure mark, that everything got a little bit easy because now that you've said this, it's made me realize it's because they're happy being the average. However, the first thought that they have is to work more to get better results. And I don't necessarily think that that is the answer. And you've just confirmed that suspicion.
It is crazy. So let me tell you something crazy that I learned. This is crazy psychology. You're going to love this. This is going to be something you can adopt right from this moment. Everyone that has a 7-figure business now that wants to get 8, 9, and 10. And I've been there before and I totally get it. I haven't figured out the 10 yet. I haven't figured out the 9, but I figured out the 7 and 8. And this is the thing that I've recognized is that in your life, all of us get to a moment where we say never again. I don't know if you see this on video or audio, but I want you to imagine right now that you say to yourself, never again. I'll never be in a relationship like that again. I'll never make under 6 figures again. I'll never make under 7 figures. And it's like 10 years ago you said it and you randomly say it, but you're emotional about it and it means things to you. So you go never again and you create this wall behind you that says, I'll never go back. And you meant it. And then at the same time, you build a wall in front of you, go, that's what I want. You don't actually get it. You just want it. And then what happens is you spend all your lunches and dinners and happy hours and everything saying, this is what I don't want. This is what I do want. What I don't want and I do want. And that is the beginning of the box that we develop. So why most people get stuck at 7 figures is they have a lot of explaining to do to themselves. And here's the explaining they have to do. They got to look in the mirror and go, wait a second. What once was great is not good enough anymore. And that is a very, very sad moment. Then you have to realize you've lied to yourself. The problem is most people have made decisions to start a business, to start a relationship, to start a family out of emotion, out of excitement, out of enthusiasm, or pissed offness. And I know we could say that if we're in Sydney. But what's interesting is you have the ability to look at that and go, you know what? Currently today, I'd love to get to 7 figures. But when I get to about 6.5 figures, I'll start talking about getting to 8. Most people finally get what they want, and they wonder why they get stuck. And the reason they get stuck is a lot of their identity is tied up in becoming a man or woman who created what it is they have. And then they've got a lot of explaining to do. Seen it like that before. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. And I 100% agree with you. It's why, for the most part, and this is, being very generic, people who buy businesses tend to do better than people who start their businesses from scratch.
They're not emotionally attached.
Because they're not emotionally attached. Yes, 100%. So
you could parent my kids better than I could parent my kids. And the reason why is... Well, you know what I'm saying? Yes. But the point is, the reason we can do that is it's like the mafia. The mafia always gets someone who's not involved to take out the person. And the reason why there's no emotional attachment. You can do things when you're not emotionally attached. The problem is you raised it, you took care of it, you grew it, you built it, you don't want to hurt it, you created it. I don't want to mess it up.
It came from a need.
Yep.
That's 100%. It came from a need. So you always have that attachment. And which is why I always think when you uncover... I was telling you about the 5 core pillars of retail success. When you uncover the pillar that's holding you back, generally speaking, you need outside help to fix it because there's a reason it's not working for you right now. And
let me get those pillars right now. I know you've said it to your tribe before. Let me hear those for my own sake.
Okay. We have money. So understanding how money flows into and around your business.
Yep.
Sales, making of the money. Customers. So finding them, catching them, converting them. Marketing. Pretty self-explanatory. And then there's impact. So impact is about building a brand, not just a store. Impact is how your business affects the rest of the world. And that can be coming on a podcast and telling someone about it. It doesn't necessarily have to mean you're changing the world, but it means people align themselves with your brand for a reason.
It's big. That's big. That's what separates the average yoga pants from the Lululemons of the world. It separates, and who do you guys have? The Lorna Jane is your girl over there. That's what separates the difference is somebody that wants to make an impact in the world. That's why you find these people making cooking books. Does that make sense? Because not only do I want to get you the pants, I want to get you in shape in them. Does that make sense? That's the beauty of it all. I love that impact. And that's a big pillar.
That's the missing pillar for most people. Yep. But at any one time that's going to change. So, as your business grows, quite often you might go back to money because your cost of goods have changed or your logistics have changed or something like that. So it does constantly change. But I think between what you said and what I've said, we're going to make a big difference for people.
Huge. It's fascinating you mentioned retail because my wife comes out of retail software. Years ago, she sold retail software to major corporations all over the world. And one of the things she taught me years ago was the recency, frequency, and duration equals conversion, which is a retail terms, at least here in the States. And anytime you do something often, anytime you've done it recently, anytime you do it for a long period of time, you will convert into something different. And that's what most people don't recognize. Like marketing cannot be done regularly. It has to be done regularly, often. And most people don't use recency, frequency, and duration to create a conversion to convert themselves into a 7 or 8 figure business. And the reason is they want to do it sometimes, but sometimes doesn't work.
And what is it with, I'm put my hand up and say I fall victim to this too. What is it that when we find something that works, we feel the need to change it?
Here's why. Very simple. There's a couple of reasons. Same reason I didn't get my book done for years. So a 9-year-old boy was trying to write my book, meaning that I'm 43 this year. And I was trying to write the book as a 9-year-old, is that I wanted to do it myself. And I wanted to prove a point. And I wanted to know that I can do it, not meaning to, not being stubborn. I was asking for help. I have a publisher and people were helping me. But one of the reasons is that if you find something that works, you have to actually admit that you were wrong. So what I'm getting at by that is, let's say I didn't hold the racket this way, and we're talking tennis or cricket. If you guys play, I know the other people with the accent play cricket, but if we talk about cricket, do you guys play cricket over there? Is that a British? Is that a?
No, we play cricket. I'm not a sports
I know. I just
person.
know those people do. We don't want to like combine the two. You know, you're different. but the point is, when someone shows you how to do something, like if you ever said, "I want to make more money," in order to make more money, you need to admit that you don't have enough. So in order to take help or to find something that works, you need to admit that what you've been doing up till now has not been working, which goes against your identity that you're good enough. So it's easier to screw up, not do well, not take advice, not take the thing to work, so you could just keep on solving problems. Because as business owners, we get off on the idea of solving problems.
Don't we? Yes.
So we love it. It's like, I'm solving problems. And then when things get easy, we get scared or nervous because our identity, like one of the things I cover in the book is that your reason for starting the business has to change later on. Like my original business started in survival mode and prove a point mode. So I'm 10 years in a business, we're doing millions of dollars, and I've already proven a point. I've already have freedom. I've already survived, but I'm still making every decisions out of original reasons.
Yes. And I agree. I think that happens as your business grows. Seth Godin would say your why changes, or
you mature.
And what you want from life and from your business changes.
Yes.
Like you do hit a point where you go, this is okay. But I don't know about you, but I've gotten to that point before where you've just gone, so I hit all the goals. I thought I would feel better than this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought that there would be more when I got here.
There's like a common misconception. So one of the things I teach people is that when you finally get what you want, there's like a few stages that we go through. It's like you're in a place in life until you don't want to be there anymore. Like you're making 6 figures until you don't want to, and then you turn up the jets to get the 7 figures. So you say, I don't want to be here anymore. And then you find out what you need to do and you do what it takes to get there, right? And then you do what it takes and you wind up there again. What most people think is they're looking for a straight line. They think they're looking to get somewhere instead of realizing that the second you decide you're going to be an entrepreneur, it is a continuous process of being there until you don't want to be there anymore, to find out how to get there, to do what it takes to get there, to get somewhere else. You don't want to be there anymore. And you have to realize that the world rewards those in motion. Like I've never met a depressed person doing push-ups or running. You're moving, you're doing something, right? So the same in business, like you have to accept if you're going to do this, it's going to be constantly getting somewhere and finding ways to improve it. And if that does not excite you, maybe you should rethink the type of business and the way you go about business, because it's not about a straight line. It's really about getting on this amazing circle, this journey of continuous growth.
So does that mean, let me just back up to what you just said then, and let me see if I interpreted it right. Does that mean when you lose the love and the passion and the spark for a business, you walk away?
I don't think anybody ever loses it. I think they are not willing to do what it takes to make that work. And they may lose the spark because they didn't think it big enough. It's like in a relationship. Every relationship can be solved. Everyone can be solved if you want to take the time, energy, and money to do it. Anything can be solved. It's like The Godfather. I'm from Jersey originally, like basically mafia style, which I know you have in Sydney also, is basically something you can get across to anybody if you want to. Are you willing to take the time to do it? So the reason you lose the spark is because when you first start a business, we get dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin leaking in our brains because we're excited. And then mundane kicks in. And then you got to do the same thing day in, day out. And then you finally get to your goal. And it's easier to start new things and get the drugs. So the way the brain works is you get a high for about 7 to 21 days from any new activity, because that is the world's ability to say, I want to give you a running, kicking head start. I want to get you moving. And then mundane kicks in. And I learned from one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, really early in life. Jim said, the monotony is going to get you rich. The monotony is going to get you happy. Most people aren't willing to settle for the monotony. Now, here's what's crazy. This is an interesting thing we studied and learned, is that the idea of getting what you want is more attractive than actually having it. So people are obsessed with the thinking and the wanting, not in the getting. So in our American football, if some kid wants to win the Super Bowl, he'll spend 30 years of his life to get to the big game. Finally, 30 years of excitement. He's 36 years old, been playing since he's 6 years old. He wins the big game. He's in the locker room. They're pouring champagne all over each other, no different than a big rugby tournament or something. And then what happens is he's all excited. Oh my God, the greatest thing in the world. He'll be happy till Tuesday from Sunday. Yeah. And the reason is our idea in our head is always grander than the reality itself. But it is not about the achievement. It's about the person you become. That's the most important thing.
It's about the journey of getting there.
It's a journey of getting there. And it sounds good. It sounds like you and I could meme that. But literally, once you become a person that can make $1 million, you can do it over and over again. Now we need to work on the next thing.
So how do you work out what the next thing is?
Well, you have to look in the mirror and you gotta ask yourself, what do you really want with your life? I mean, that's a big question. A lot of people are looking to other people to give answers to them. They never will be. One of the things that we teach people is that the answers you have, the majority of them come from you just being honest with yourself. What do you want? What do you like? And years ago, I started studying Alan Watts. I love his stuff. And he basically says something to the effect of, anything you love to do, you could find a way to get paid for. Anything you love to do. So you might not get all of your passion out of your business. You might get it from I play ice hockey 3 days a week. You might get it from playing rugby. You might get it from checkers. You might get it from donating your time. So to figure out what your next thing is in business wise, you have to ask yourself, what do you really want to do? And with a sober voice with yourself, what do you really want for your life? And I think most people really don't answer that. They answer that based on what's going to make me look good in front of people, what's going to solve my problem, instead of being really honest. Like this COVID thing got me to realize I love helping people. I was built for this. I'm built to serve, help, and give. And there was a time I was doing 20 to 30 Zooms and conference calls a week, 30 of these, like nonstop, one after the other, sometimes 2 minutes over, no breaks in between. And I'm built for this because impact is what I'm looking for. Like that's when you gave that last pillar. And I'm like, that's the stage of my life right now. That is what finally got me over the edge to get the book done. It's like, you know what? I'm never going to make an impact. If I just want to be average, well, then that's it. And maybe I was writing the book I needed for me.
Do you find that, I find this a really interesting concept, that when people are thinking about what they want, they feel like they can't be selfish?
I think they need to be massively selfish.
I know, but they feel like they have to be able to justify it even to themselves. Like you might want to have a $10 million in the bank.
Yep.
And that's okay. Like that's your choice. But then people think, oh, but then I'm being greedy, or, you know, but if I've got that money in the bank, it's coming away from somewhere else. So what I tend to find is when you ask people what they want, the answer that they give themselves and they give you is the socially acceptable answer.
It's the lie. I was with my wife back when we could do events a couple of months ago. I took my wife to go see Oprah Winfrey. There were 15,000 people there. I was one of 8 guys. And like one of my friends, Lee, stopped us and she goes, hey, there's 15,000 people there. Do you want to go backstage and meet Oprah? So I'm like, why not? I'll go meet Oprah. Why not? Right? Super cool. VIP passes, 150 of us backstage out of 15,000 people. We have a little lunch thing, and at the end, they invite us back for pictures. She gets up there, does her whole shtick where she says, basically, please don't bother me. I don't want to see your book. Do not bother me. Do not ask me questions. Take your picture and go. I'm Oprah Winfrey. I love, but not in a mean way, more in like I'm done. Like I'm burned out. I've been speaking for a couple of days. And she wasn't mean. She was just really kind about it. Cause there's a lot of people, they all want to stop and talk to their goddess. Do you know what I'm saying? So I get up there. I'm like, what can I ask her to get a little bit of a conversation? So everyone's like, picture go, picture go, picture go. And I walk up there and I said, Oprah, I said, is this the part where we go home and get to work? She goes, yes. I go, I have one question for you. You mentioned at the event that the key to life is saying no to things. And I said, how does that work? And she goes, and she stopped the whole line and she got into a crazy picture on my Facebook page. You got to see it. It's like we're in this like deep talk, Oprah and I. And she sat for 5 minutes and everyone, her camera crew was like, this isn't normal. Like she doesn't do this. And she looked me in the eyes. The only thing I remember her saying is that if you don't do things from the core of your being that really make you happy, you're going to rot and you're going to be miserable and your life is going to rot away. The only happiness you're going to get is from doing things at the core of your being, what really matters to you. Everything else has to be said no to. The clients, the engagements, the things you don't want to do. Now, there's stuff you got to say yes to, picking your kids up at soccer, writing things you don't want to write, dealing with court-appointed stuff you have to do, blah, 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 legal stuff, yes. But there are things in our business and our life. And when she said that, I'm like, I got it. I really got that. We have to work super hard to do and know what it is we really want at our core, and everything else needs to be either dealt with, handed off, or given away.
Okay, so a lot of people are hearing that and thinking, well, that is really nice in theory, but I still have to put food on the table.
That's another story. You have to do that stuff. My question is not, do I have to work? My question is, and it's not about the things I don't want to do. The question really comes down to, did you build the business you wanted? And if you didn't, you got to look in the mirror and go, you know what? I'm the restaurant that I needs to call people right now. I've got to do whatever I got to do to make money. And maybe it's a 6 month to a year solution to solve the way you're doing things. Maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 5 years, but you've got to be honest with yourself and go, am I doing what I want to be doing? Or did I buy myself a job? And I think a lot of people are not honest with themselves of what they really, really want to be doing. Now, if you're like, I just want to play guitar on the side of the street, then accept the consequences. That's what you want to do. Get out of retail, but become a really good hustler. Get a suitcase down, get a good song going, get people to drop quarters and nickels. Those guys make money too, but you've got to figure out what you want. So this is why this is an important conversation is it's the little things that you've got to say no to. The reason you're frustrated is you may be saying yes to an employee to keep happy that you need to get rid of. You may be saying yes to money that's bad money. You may be saying yes to a good restaurant or a good retail company is going to be like, well, we like selling those silk shirts, but we make no money and we have a million times we've got to iron those things out. Pain in the neck. We're getting rid of those things. So you've got to be truthful to yourself and ask yourself what works. Like you've got to ask yourself what the clients want, or do you want to make money or not? I got clients that, in the retail world sell plastic bananas. Okay. She sells hundreds of thousands of plastic bananas a month on Amazon. Didn't even know that was a thing. And she doesn't care.
For stylists and interior design and things?
She is selling them to people that do for children and people that do what you call like setting houses.
Yeah.
Staging.
Yeah.
Who would ever think 100,000 a month? I'd probably slow during COVID right now. But what's interesting is she's selling those. And you know what she says? I don't care what I sell. All I care is that I don't have to work much and I find things people want and I let them buy them. And that's it. That's what she wants. Her impact is her kids. That's it.
Yeah.
Got to find what your impact is. Your impact may be outside your business.
And it is really interesting, isn't it? That concept of you can work to make the money. I think we get very caught up as entrepreneurs that we get told all the time that we have to be passionate about what we sell.
Nope.
But actually, this for her this is not her thing. She's just like, this is just a vehicle for me to make money.
She's super, like I tell most people they're dying in a passion puddle. They're sweating because they're excited and they're spitting because they're nervous. They're drowning in a passion puddle. What we do need to do, and this is one of the things I share with people all the time, is change our language. We need to get serious about what it is we're doing. If you were serious about your business producing 8 figures, my question is, would you run it the way you're running it? And the answer is no. And you know that.
That's my 5 core pillars.
What's that?
That's the 5 core pillars.
That's the 5 core pillars. The word is serious. Are you serious about the pillars? Like anyone listening to this right now that's heard you speak before and been on a podcast before, my question is, are you serious about digesting this information? Are you just excited to be here? Are you drugging yourself with dopamine and norepinephrine? Or are you really seriously going to use this? It's a big difference in outcome.
Okay, next steps. So I've listened to you and I've realized I don't like being average. I realized that potentially I've been lying to myself about what I want and what I've been doing in my business.
There's no potential in anything of this. Everyone that's listening to this right now,
it takes people time they got to work through.
I know. When you're done re-listening to it again and you realize it wasn't potentially, you realize you were, but that's okay. Go ahead. I'm giving
we're just wording it for the listeners.
I know. I love you guys. Love all the listeners.
What do they do now?
Well, one is you get to my book. I'm just going to tell you definitely want to do that. Go to averagesucks.com, get the book. We'll ship it out, Kindle, whatever it is you need to do. The next big thing is I'm just going to tell everyone that the number one step to anything you want in this world, it's in the book. And I'll tell you all is that you need to accept that you're not where it is that you want to be. The same step that got you to start a business needs to happen right now. So you accepted years ago, I'm not where I want to be. We need to accept again, I'm not where I want to be. 3 things occur as soon as you accept you're not where you want to be. Number 1 is opportunity presents itself. Well, if I don't want to be here, where do I want to be? Well, that's a great question. Then instant insecurity. Now, some people think of insecurity and they go, oh my God, that's horrible. Insecurity gives you room to grow. And what I've learned is you're looking at the word negatively. Like my wife and I years ago, we couldn't figure out why was no one helping us. Why was no one helping us out? We realized we were unsupportable. People that are unsupportable act like they've got it all figured out. In order to be supportable and have your friends and family support your business, you need to act like I do have a lot figured out, but there's a lot I don't have figured out. The reason people are not helping you with marketing, the reason that you're not able to help them at a level that you could, even listeners of yours right now, is you need to be supportable, not needy, supportable. What supportable means is, got it, there's an area that I could use some help. If you have 5 minutes, I'm going to bring my ADD off minutes for 5 minutes. I'm going to be very focused and we're going to do this. So a next step, that would be the next big step for people is like, I don't work with anybody until those 3 things happen. Accept you're not where you want to be, which automatically open up the gates to be somewhere else. Number 2 is insecurity shows up a little bit. And then you got to accept if you're not where you want to be, it's okay. It's truly okay. Maybe you were wrong. Maybe you've done the wrong things. That's fine. But the path reveals itself. And this is what's so cool is like, once you say you're not where you want to be, doors open. It's like taking the red pill in the Matrix. Everything shows up for you.
I think that is probably the best place to finish up before you and I could. I think we could talk for
you and I could talk forever. We'll talk off the record. I'll come back again. I'm just going to tell everyone, get the book. You'll thank me for it, and reach out, and I'll help you out any way I can with breaking your average, so you can make certain to blow up their retail business for them. Not blow up in a bad way, but blow up in a great way and get them to 8, 9, 10 figures.
I think that is awesome. So averagesucks.com. We can get the book. We can get it on Kindle, and I think it's going to be
Kindle or anything that we have at Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, whatever. I mean, it's sold everywhere. Target. I don't know. What's your local place? Buy, sell there too. So get it anywhere.
I think we shop on Amazon too. Bookstores are.
I know. Yeah, I think even Books A Millions has it too. We got it everywhere. So I'm excited about getting that out and sharing that to everyone across the world. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this, because I think a lot of people have taken a really good hard look at themselves and their businesses over the past few months. And there are a lot of people who are not going to be feeling comfortable with where they're at. And maybe this is how they're going to break out of average.
It's the greatest time. And I'll say this last statement. There's never been a greater time in life to get moving right now, when 85% of the world is taking a nap. And what I mean by that is all of your competition is scared and nervous. If you have a little bit of confidence, a little bit of belief in yourself, and some energy left, the greatest thing to have happen is it's like we're playing against players that hurt their ankles. We're playing against people that got the flu. We're playing against people that fell over. It's like their whole team we're playing against all got through a divorce last night. They can't think straight. So if you can think straight right now, you're only playing against a percentage of the world instead of all of it right now.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate having me on. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. You can find all of the show notes over at selinaknight.com. If you found something that you heard today particularly useful, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes or Stitcher. And of course, feel free to share this episode with someone that you think could benefit by listening to it. Want more retail biz strategies? You can watch the Bringing Business to Retail TV show, where each week I'll answer a question or provide you with a simple, actionable retail biz strategy that you can implement in your business right away. If you have a question or a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Drop my team an email at podcast@selinaknight.com, and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great week.